My name is Quentin Sloan. I'm 28 years old, and I grew up in a family where power was currency and I was broke from birth. My brother Ephraim ran venture-backed startups before he could legally rent a car. I ran silent updates on power grids no one ever noticed were failing. He inherited the charm. I inherited the blueprints. At family dinners, Ephraim made toasts. I made sure the lighting didn't flicker. But when your whole life's been underground, you learn how to read the pressure before the explosion. This morning, 6:12 a.m., the server room beneath Aurora Summit hummed like a sleeping beast. Cold. Clean. Alive. I was running diagnostics on the internal HVAC feedback loop, just a routine check. The tower was scheduled for a quarterly compliance sweep, and I like to stay ahead of ghosts. Then my terminal flashed. Access revoked, exec command, Delphine_sudo. For 2 full seconds, I didn't move. Then I reread it. Again. Same message. Same code. Ephraim's override. Not corporate. Not building ops. Him. I slammed the command line. Denied. Tried a backchannel trace route. Locked. Switched machines. Same wall. Then came the second punch, an emergency board call. Audio only. The voice crackled through. Quentin, Ephraim's voice, smooth as lacquer. You're suspended effective immediately. You're locked out of Aurora's mainframe until further notice. I said nothing. He continued. Until the network's back up and running, you're a liability. There was a pause. Someone on the line coughed. You think because you designed the system, you own it? He asked. Wrong. You work for us. I nearly laughed. I don't work for you, Ephraim. I own the lease on the infrastructure. That lease is pending, he cut in. It hasn't been renewed. Because you stalled it, I thought. Because you knew the deadline was tomorrow. Because you needed me out. The board call ended with a click. Cold. Efficient. Like pulling a trigger. I looked at the dead screen. This isn't about Wi-Fi, I muttered. It's about control. I left the server room and headed for sublevel 4. My emergency panel was still offline. But the local network scanner flickered once, one active node. My old laptop, and storage. 15 minutes later, I cracked it open inside my car, heat fogging the windows. Wired it to a private signal. Offline, self-contained. I had 5 minutes before building security caught on. I bypassed the default encryption. Decrypted the admin logs. And found something strange. The first flagged error wasn't a connectivity failure. It was a purge. Whole chains of compliance audit trails. Gone. Auto-deletion script triggered from Ephraim's own subdomain 3 hours before he blamed me. He didn't want the system fixed. He wanted the blame buried. Preferably with me under it. Back in my apartment, I pulled out the physical backup drive. I had built the infrastructure. Which meant I had failsafes no one remembered existed. That night, someone knocked on my door. Twice. Sharp. Intentional. I waited. Another knock. No voice. By the time I opened it, the hallway was empty. But someone had left an envelope. Inside, a photo of my father, sitting alone at a park bench outside his care facility. Taken 20 minutes ago. There was no note. Just a line printed across the bottom in block text. Stay in your lane, Q. I didn't sleep. At 3:14 a.m., I called Imani Zephyr. I need eyes inside the system, I told her. Someone buried something deep. And they used my name to do it. You sure it's not just Ephraim pulling a power trip again? This time, I said, he didn't just pull rank. He buried a bomb. And if I don't find it, I take the fall. A pause. Then her voice, low and deliberate. Then we start digging. I wasn't suspended for an IT failure. I was suspended so I couldn't stop what was already in motion. The rain came down in metallic sheets, stinging like static on skin. I sat in my car, engine off, the laptop blowing in my lap like a trap about to snap. The old shell still worked. Backup firmware. Clean partition. No trackers. My version of a panic room. I ran a trace through the offline node. One match. Node 3700 AUR/core loop. Status, warnings, latency spike. Packet loss, 32%. That wasn't a glitch. That was someone throttling bandwidth on purpose. And the route it came through was Ephraim's floor. I didn't speak. Didn't curse. Just stared. When you're raised in a family that weaponizes success, silence becomes your armor. Then a new line appeared. Auto-delete event initiated. Audit trail scrubbed. Timestamp, 3:14 a.m. The same hour Ephraim suspended me. I leaned back, breathing shallow. Every instinct screamed, get out. But instincts don't win in this family. Leverage does. I plugged in the external archive drive. The one I kept unregistered, unconnected. For seconds in, the log started decrypting. 5 seconds in, my side mirror caught a glint. Movement. Someone stood across the parking garage, just outside the light ring. A figure. Hands in coat pockets. Not walking. Just watching. Then, gone. I shut the laptop, unplugged the drive, peeled out of the garage without headlights. Imani Zephyr met me at a diner in St. Paul, past midnight. She slid into the booth like she was still being followed. She probably was. You're not exaggerating, she said after I showed her the purge logs. That's a pattern. And it's targeting compliance points. Regulators don't like missing trails, I said. This drops during a Series C pitch, they lose investors. Ephraim needed a scapegoat. She nodded, then looked me in the eye. But he's not smart enough to write that logic bomb. I already knew that. Ephraim didn't write code. He weaponized it. I showed her the back-end footprint. A signature in the metadata. Obscure, but not invisible. Imani paled. That's mine. What? Not recent. That's a dev shell I wrote back when I was lead engineer at Delphine. It was supposed to be a diagnostic tool. You sure? She didn't answer. Just stared at the screen like it was something dead and familiar. Then she spoke. I built the knife. But someone else drove it. Outside the diner, the world was too quiet. My gut twisted. Do you still have access? I asked. To a few side routes. But Ephraim wiped most of it when I left. Thought he was being clever. We don't need clever. Just functional. She pulled a flash drive from her coat. Old. Scratched. This one still has fangs, she said. Plug it into the maintenance relay room on level B4. That's where the old loop still routes through. They never upgraded that floor. You'll get admin shadows. And building logs? If they still exist, yeah. I pocketed the drive. Then she stopped me. Q, be careful. You're not just untangling cables. You're exposing bloodlines. I paused. Truth doesn't scare me. It should, she whispered. Because power always lies twice, first to others, then to itself. The elevator to B4 creaked like it hadn't been touched in years. Half-lit. Smelled of dust and old oil. The doors opened on a hallway so quiet it rang. I moved fast. No hesitation. The relay room's keypad blinked amber. I used my physical override key. One click. Door open. Inside, the hum of copper and fan blades. A low chorus of old servers whispering in code. I found the terminal. Plugged in the drive. The logs bled open. Access history. Script schedules. Unauthorized shell executions. And one name kept surfacing. Nadir Tracer RST. Not Ephraim. Not even Delphine Systems. That was a shadow protocol. Off-book. Pre-regulatory. The logs revealed one more thing. 2 days ago, someone triggered a backdoor override across Aurora Summit. Set to activate if my account accessed compliance chains. And the trigger came from Delano Royce, the building director. I stared at the name. Delano had been with the summit since I was a kid running Cat 5 under floor tiles. He used to call me Shadow, half mocking, half affectionate. Now he was ghostwriting my destruction. Why? The lights flickered. The server fans hiccuped. A whine rose in the air, like a breath being sucked in and held. Then, all power on B4 went black. I yanked the flash drive, bolted for the door. Emergency lighting failed. The keypad blinked red. Locked in. No cell signal. No camera. I pressed my back to the wall. Then I heard footsteps. Not rushed. Not panicked. Just calm. Measured. Coming closer. You don't survive in a family like mine by panicking. You survive by remembering the rules. And rule number 1? The system doesn't fail by accident. It fails for someone. He didn't suspend me to fix his system. He suspended me so I wouldn't realize I could shut it down. The moment the power dropped, instinct took over. No light. No sound. Just the low groan of settling metal, the hum of dead air, and the echo of my own heartbeat, louder than it should have been. I slid along the wall, hand tracing steel until I reached the emergency release. Manual override. Rusted from disuse. One twist. It jammed. Second try. Click. The door creaked open just an inch. I pushed harder. Slipped through. The hallway outside was pitch black, save for a flicker of red from the stairwell beacon. Faint. Flickering. Like something half alive. Footsteps. I dropped low. Waited. Silence. Then again, 3 slow taps. Deliberate. Bare soles on concrete. Close. Too close. I held my breath, felt the air tighten. My phone buzzed once, low vibration. I muted it instantly. Text from Imani. Do not go home. No explanation. No time. I bolted up the stairs, skipping every third step, chest burning. My foot slipped once. Recovered. Kept moving. Sublevel 2. Sublevel 1. Ground floor. I ducked into the maintenance hallway. Pulled open a utility panel, climbed inside, closed it behind me. Darkness again. But this time, safe. For now. Inside the crawlspace, I texted Imani. Why? She replied, Delano made a deal with Ephraim. They think you found the kill switch. Kill switch. The words hum in the dark like a wire ready to snap. I knew the rumor. That somewhere in the Aurora infrastructure, a code existed that could lock out every control, redirect every system, every node, back to one person. I thought it was a myth. But if they believed it wasn't, they were hunting me not because of what I did, but because of what I might do. I made it to the rooftop just before dawn. The city was a bruised blue, still asleep, still dangerous. I watched the tower lights blink below, systems rebooting in phases. Then I saw him. Ephraim. Standing near the helipad, suit jacket off, phone pressed to his ear. Smiling. Like this was just another morning. I walked straight to him. He didn't flinch. "Quentin," he said calmly. "You look tired. You sent someone to trap me on before." He shrugged. "That floor is due for inspection. Power fluctuations. Safety first. You used my code. You triggered a deletion script in my name." He didn't deny it. Instead, he smiled again. "What you built, Q, was brilliant. Too brilliant to be buried in sublevels. I didn't build it for you." "No," he said, stepping closer. "But you didn't protect it either." He looked past me, toward the skyline. Cool. Composed. "You always thought this was about fairness. About recognition. It's not. It never was. It's about leverage." I clenched my jaw. "You didn't suspend me for failing. You suspended me before I could prove who did." He didn't respond. Just tapped his phone twice, then pocketed it. Then he said the thing that finally shattered the last thread. "You're a technician, Quentin. Not a tactician." I took one step closer. "Then let's talk tactics." I reached into my coat. Pulled out the backup drive. Still warm. "Everything you wiped, I recovered." His smile faltered. "You wouldn't. You used my signature. My code. Framed me. And now, I'm going to show the board exactly what you're hiding." A pause. Then he laughed. "Even if you do, you'll go down with me." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not part of Delphine anymore." His eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" I held up a second drive. This isn't a backup. This is a transfer." He blinked. "To who?" A voice cut through the rooftop like a blade. "To us." We both turned. Standing by the access door, arms folded, was Aurelius Vance, Tower Compliance Director, former Federal Infrastructure Auditor. Now, something else. "I've seen enough," he said. "The building lease, the system nodes, the override codes, all valid. All traceable." Ephraim stepped back. "You're bluffing." Aurelius handed me a folder. "Not anymore. As of this morning, Quentin filed a notice of service termination. Full infrastructure rollback. We're transferring control." "To who?" Ephraim snapped. "To Titan Dynamics," Aurelius said. Ephraim froze. "That's corporate suicide. Only for those who can't adapt." The helipad lights flickered to life. A chopper in the distance. I watched Ephraim, his face, his fists, his breath. He looked like a man who just realized the walls weren't closing in. They were already inside. The wind rose. The sky split open. And I realized something else. He didn't suspend me because I was weak. He suspended me because he knew. If I ever fought back, I wouldn't stop until I'd buried the entire machine. By noon, the story broke. Not a leak. A rupture. Screens in every elevator flashed the headline in silent rotation: Delphine systems hit by internal infrastructure failure. Regulators notified. Phones buzzed. Traders paused mid-sentence. The building felt like it was holding its breath. I was in a conference room on the 4th floor, glass walls, blinds half-drawn, watching the damage spread in real time. Network graphs jittered. Cooling alerts pulsed amber. Then red. Aurelius stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back. Calm. Always calm. Once the regulators see a pattern, he said, they stop asking questions and start issuing deadlines. Deadlines are just threats with paperwork, I said. They only work if you're scared. He nodded. You learned that the hard way. Cut. My phone rang. Unknown number. Quentin, Delano Royce said, breathy, too friendly. We need to talk. Now. I looked at Aurelius. He didn't stop me. I'm in B3, Delano added. Server wing. There's something you should see. I hung up without answering. Aurelius raised an eyebrow. You're walking into a distraction. Every reveal needs one, I said. The server wing smelled like hot metal and ozone. Fans screamed. Warning lights strobed along the racks like a runway to nowhere. Delano waited by the central console, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, trying to look like a man in control. You didn't have to escalate it like this, he said. We could have contained it. You sold me out, I replied. For equity. He flinched. Then recovered. This building survives on compromise. So do cancers, I said. Until they don't. I stepped closer. The floor vibrated under my boots. That back door you triggered, I said. Nadir Tracer RST. That wasn't Ephraim's idea. It was yours. Delano's jaw tightened. He needed plausible deniability. You were convenient. A laugh escaped me. Short. Dry. Convenient is what people call you right before they replace you. The lights flickered. Then died. Total blackout. Emergency power failed to kick in. The fans wound down, one by one, until the room was silent except for the ticking of cooling metal. Delano cursed. That's not. The doors slammed shut. Magnetic locks. Sealed. I reached for my phone. No signal. Then a soft blow bloomed behind us. Imani. She stood near the auxiliary panel, tablet in hand, face pale in the dim emergency light. You weren't supposed to be here, Delano said. I wasn't, she replied. Until you forced my hand. She looked at me. Something unspoken passed between us. Then she said it. I dated Ephraim. The words hit harder than the blackout. Delano turned sharply. That's not relevant. It is, she said. Because I wrote the first version of the code you used. The diagnostic shell. I trusted him with it. He promised it would never be weaponized. I stared at her. You never told me. Her voice dropped. Because I thought burying it would keep you safe. The temperature climbed. My watch vibrated, server room threshold breached. Delano backed toward the door, pounding the manual release. Nothing. You two are going to kill us, he snapped. No, I said. You already did that. I turned to Imani. Can you unlock the kill switch? She hesitated. If I do, it'll cascade. Power reroutes. Some systems won't come back. How long do we have? She checked her tablet. 8 minutes before thermal shutdown. 8 minutes. I moved. Ripped open the panel beneath the main rack. Wires spilled like veins. Imani dropped beside me, fingers flying, breath shallow. You know what my father used to say? I muttered. When you build something strong, people stop respecting it because it doesn't complain. She smiled, thin. That's how they break it. The lights flickered back, dim, unstable. Delano lunged for the console. I caught him, slammed him into the rack. The impact rang through the room. Stay down, I said. He didn't. He swung. Caught my shoulder. Pain flared. I shoved him back, hard. He slipped, cracked his head on the metal edge, went still. Imani didn't look up. 3 minutes. Sweat dripped into my eyes. The air grew thick. My lungs burned. I pressed the final connector into place. Nothing. Then, feedback. A low hum. Systems rebooting on a parallel loop. Imani exhaled. We've got control. Partial. The doors clicked open. We staggered into the hallway as alarms blared across the floor. Security shouted. Boots thundered. Aurelius was there, flanked by building security and 2 federal inspectors. Badges out. Faces grim. He looked past us to Delano, unconscious, bleeding. So, Aurelius said softly. That's the truth. One of the inspectors turned to me. Mr. Sloan, we'll need a full statement. Of course, I said. I've been waiting. As they led Delano away, Imani caught my arm. I didn't tell you everything, she whispered. Ephraim didn't just want control. He wanted you gone. I know, I said. She swallowed. Because he was afraid of what you'd do if you ever realized the system answered to you. I looked back at the server wing, lights flickering, systems stabilizing, the building breathing again. You built the trap, Imani, I said quietly. Now you either unlock it, or we both burn. The building didn't sleep that night. It convulsed. Floors blinked in and out like dying stars. Elevators froze midshaft. Fire doors slammed shut, then unlocked, then slammed again. Aurora Summit sounded like an animal trapped in a steel cage, thrashing to remember how it breathed. I stood in the auxiliary control room with Imani, sweat cooling on my spine, eyes locked on 3 monitors that refused to agree with each other. Power reroute is unstable, she said. We bought time. Not safety. How much? I asked. She checked the timer. 6 minutes before the fallback protocol kicks in. After that, hard shutdown. Hard shutdown meant the servers would save themselves by killing everything else. Tenants. Data streams. Cooling loops. The kind of failure regulators called catastrophic and prosecutors called career-ending. Aurelius came in fast, coat off, sleeves rolled. He smelled like rain and old paper. They're filing emergency injunctions, he said. Delphine's lawyers are screaming sabotage. Let them, I said. Truth has better stamina than panic. He gave me a look. You sound like your father. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. Cut. Security monitors lit up. 3 men at the North Service entrance. Not badges. Not uniforms. Hands tucked wrong. Moving with intent. Imani saw it too. Those aren't cops. No, I said. Those are people paid to unplug things. The doors on level B3 slammed shut. Magnetic locks engaged. Override them, Aurelius said. I can't, I said. Not without triggering the cascade. The building groaned. A deep, rolling sound. Like a warning. One of the men pulled a crowbar. Another lifted a portable breaker. Professional. Efficient. I said it without thinking. When force shows up, it means the plan already failed. Imani looked at me. Then why are they here? Because someone is desperate. Cut. I ran. Down the maintenance corridor. Lights flickering. Air thick and hot. My breath came in short pulls. Imani behind me, boots slapping concrete. We reached the manual control bay, old tech. Analog failsafes. Forgotten on purpose. I yanked the panel open. Wires. Dials. A metal box with a physical key slot. I froze. That wasn't on the schematics, Imani said. It wouldn't be, I replied. It's not infrastructure. It's what? I stepped closer. My hand shook. I wiped them on my jeans. It's inheritance. The lock was old. Not electronic. Mechanical. Built before people trusted passwords more than blood. A memory surfaced, my father at the kitchen table, grease on his fingers, telling me systems always break where people forget they're human. telling me real power never announces itself. It waits. I pulled the small leather pouch from my pocket. I'd carried it for years without knowing why. Inside was a brass key. Imani stared. You've had that the whole time? I didn't know what it was, I said. I just knew not to lose it. I slid the key in. It turned smoothly, like it had been waiting. The monitors snapped into alignment. Master override available. Authorization, Sloan, Q. Status, dormant. Aurelius's voice came through the intercom, tight. They're inside the wing. The men breached the door. Metal screamed. Alarms howled. Imani's fingers flew across the console. I can give you 3 minutes. That's it. 3 is enough, I said. I hit the command. The building exhaled. Power rerouted. Clean. Controlled. The unauthorized nodes went dark. One by one. Surgical. The men froze mid-step as their tools died in their hands. Security swarmed. Handcuffs clicked. Silence fell like a held breath finally released. Imani leaned against the console, laughing softly, almost hysterical. You didn't shut it down. No, I said. I reminded it who it belonged to. Aurelius stepped in, eyes on the screens. Delphine Systems just lost infrastructure priority. Good, I said. File the notice. He hesitated. You understand what this means? I nodded. They can't operate here anymore. Your brother will come for you. I met his gaze. He already did. Cut. The building settled. Light steady. Systems humming. Alive again. Imani packed her tablet, hands trembling now that the adrenaline drained. I should go, she said. Before this turns into something uglier. You saved my life, I said. She shook her head. I helped fix a mistake I helped create. She paused at the door. Be careful, Q, power doesn't forgive hesitation. When she was gone, I sat alone in the control room, staring at the brass key in my palm. My phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. One line. You think you won? I typed back nothing. Some victories don't need witnesses. I closed my hand around the key. He left the final key. For the son he thought would never use it. The courtroom smelled like old wood and sharp tension. Everyone was sweating under suits and pretense. Nolan sat across from me. Tie perfect. Smile polished. The golden sun once more. He whispered to his attorney. Never once looked at me. It didn't matter. The judge's voice broke the hum. Under Section 770.02, the property deed is valid. Aurora Summit's ownership rights revert to Quentin Sloan. Gavel down. Like a shot fired underwater. Cut. I didn't breathe until we stepped into the hallway. Aurelius clapped my shoulder. You just evicted your brother from his own empire. No, I said. He never built it. He squatted in someone else's legacy and called it his. We walked past cameras. Reporters. Microphones. All noise. Inside, I was quiet. Imani waited by the stairwell. No words. Just a nod. Some wars end with treaties. Others with silence. I took the elevator alone. Up 30 floors. Aurora Summit was mine again. But ownership doesn't fix ruin. The server room still bore scorch marks. The hallways still remembered violence. You can rebuild walls faster than trust. I stood in my father's old office. The glass cracked from the last breach. Still unpolished. Some scars should stay visible. Cut. Imani found me hours later, sitting at the desk. Lights off. Skyline behind me, bruised by dusk. I thought you'd be celebrating, she said. I am. Quietly. She leaned on the frame. You did it. They called you crazy. Every revolution starts with someone being called that. She smiled. The override key, he really gave it to you? Slipped it in a letter the night before he died. Said, use this only when your name means nothing, but your actions mean everything. Imani whistled. Damn. People think inheritance is money, I said. It's not. It's the right to fight for what they couldn't finish. She steadied me. So what now? I turned the chair to face her. We reset everything. From the leases to the network stacks. No more ghost accounts. No more backdoor shell companies. And Nolan? If he wants to run a company, he can rent office space like the rest of us. A beat. Would you hire him? I laughed, bitter. I'd let him interview. But I'd ask the same question they never asked me. What do you create when no one's watching? She nodded. Heavy. Truth always is. Cut. Later that night, I walked the perimeter alone. Security reset. Keycards reissued. Staff cleared. But the air still watched me. Shadow behind every corner. Memory in every light flicker. I stopped at the elevator. 3rd floor. Where they tried to override me. Where Nolan stood and told me I was just the IT guy. Fix the Wi-Fi. The phrase rang hollow now. Words can command. But legacy commands back. Cut. I unlocked my father's storage vault. Inside, boxes labeled in his handwriting. Old logs. Audits. Letters. One folder marked Q. Inside, a photo of me and Nolan. We were kids. Happy. Before ambition became venom. Taped to the back was a note. He will always have more charm. You will always have more clarity. In the end, clarity wins. I sank to the floor. Because forgiveness isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It just needs one moment where you let go of being the villain in someone else's script. Cut. 6 weeks later, Aurora Summit reopened. Smaller. Leaner. Smarter. I stood by the entrance, watching new staff enter. A woman in her 20s paused. Nervous. You the guy who fixed the Wi-Fi? She asked. I smiled. No, I said. I'm the guy who rewired the truth. She laughed. Walked on. Sometimes people remember you for the wrong reason. It's your job to outlive the memory. Cut. I watched the city breathe. From the 45th floor, it didn't look cruel. Just complicated. You don't inherit empires. You inherit the mess. The fractures. And the quiet chance to do it better. Maybe that's the real legacy. Not what you take, but what you finally leave standing.